Welcome to Your Inner Advocate, a podcast by Kimen Petersen, formerly Conversations with Kimen. This podcast is a space for inspiration, soulful insights, and meaningful life lessons. Your host, Kimen Petersen, draws from personal stories and powerful conversations with remarkable people to help illuminate your path. These episodes reflect his lived experiences and thoughtful perspectives, all aimed at encouraging you to live life with greater authenticity, joy, and ease. Your Inner Advocate is here to help you tune in, trust your inner wisdom, and move through life with more clarity, flow, and fulfillment.
Today I want to talk about something that so many of us need to hear. Especially those of us who are high achievers, dreamers, athletes, and the doers. Stop being so hard on yourself. You are always doing the best you can. Let me say that again. You're doing the best you can. And you may not believe that right now. You may be thinking, no, I could have done more. I should have done more. I knew better. But here's the truth. You are always doing the best you can, considering your level of understanding at the time. Think about it. Every moment in life, you are actually doing the best with what you have, with what you know, and with where you are. The problem is, we look back with today's awareness, today's energy, and we judge our past self as if they should have known what we know now. But how could they? You only learn after living. So do the best you can using what you have and what you know until you know better. And when you know better, do better. And that's wisdom. It's not weakness. Some days your best is going to look like conquering the world. Other days, your best will simply be getting out of bed, and that's okay. Yesterday, you may have been able to move mountains. Today, your best might be just showing up, breathing, or just trying to believe again. Let me put it another way. If you're running at 40% today and you give 100% of that 40%, you've given everything you had. That's full effort. That's integrity, and that's hard. You see, it's not about perfection. It's about presence. And presence, being truly here, doing what you can with what you have, that is enough. Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have, where you are. Being hard on yourself can be a strategy that some people use. But let's talk about this for a second. Being hard on yourself. Sometimes being hard on yourself is actually a strategy. A way to be productive, successful, or drive results, right? And let's be honest, it works for a while. You push yourself, you get results, you climb the mountain. But at what cost? Because while it's an effective short-term strategy, it often comes with side effects: burnout, anxiety, criticism, emotional fatigue. It's like trying to run a marathon while yelling at yourself the entire way. Sure, you might finish, but you'll be limping over the line. What if you could push yourself differently? What if you could push yourself with kindness? What if you could coach yourself like your own biggest fan, saying, you've got this, keep going, push harder, I believe in you. Imagine if you could turn that inner critic into an inner coach. Because the truth is, you don't need to be hard on yourself to be successful. You need to be committed to yourself. And commitment looks like compassion in action. So next time you find yourself saying, I'm not doing enough, stop, take a breath, and say, I'm doing my best. today, and that's enough. Be kind to yourself. You're doing the best you can with what you have, where you are right now. Now, sometimes being hard on yourself is something you learned from your parents. And sometimes this habit of being hard on ourselves isn't really ours. We inherited it, or we accepted it, or we chose to take it on. Think about it. If your parents were hard on you, maybe it came from their beliefs, right? Maybe they thought life was hard and that you had to be tough to survive, to be happy. Maybe they loved you fiercely, but their version of love, their love language was, I'm going to be really hard on you so you'll be strong and safe. That was their language of love, maybe. The problem is sometimes we grow up and we keep speaking their language, even when it doesn't serve us anymore. We start believing that if we're tough on ourselves, or if we're not tough on ourselves, we're being lazy. We think if we're kind to ourselves, we'll lose our edge. But kindness isn't weakness. It's power, it's presence, it's emotional maturity. You can hold yourself accountable and hold yourself gently. It's not one or the other. It's really not. You can strive for greatness without sacrificing your self-worth. If your parents' version of love was tough love, it's okay to evolve that. You can be the generation that changes that tone. From criticism to compassion, from pressure to encouragement. And maybe it won't be easy. And maybe you'll fall back at times. But if life is a practice, and your practice is working on self-compassion and self-love, and you continuously move in that direction, eventually you'll create a habit. The way we speak to ourselves becomes the home or the house we live in. Learn to change the conversation. And understanding the internal critic is not something we really have control over. We don't have control over it directly. It's automatic. Its job is to protect by keeping you small. We don't have the power to control it. In fact, if we try to control it, it probably gets stronger. But what we do have the power over it, whether we believe it or not, whether we stand up inside our own mind, say, no, that's not true, this is who I am. Whether we say to that inner critic, thank you for sharing, but I'm not going to be tough on myself anymore. There's this confusion in life. It's just like, just because something works doesn't mean it's right. And let's be honest, and I'm not just trying to cast this on you, because this is me too. Because sometimes being really hard on myself worked. Really grinding myself down, it really worked. Pushing myself down deeper and deeper so I could propel. We have achieved things because of this. We've succeeded. People have won medals, hit milestones, changed their life, found amazing things. So the mind, it sees what works and it says, why would we change that? Why would we change that? But here's the truth. Just because something works doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because it helped you survive doesn't mean it's the best way to live. Pressure can create diamonds, yes. But enough pressure can probably, in the right places, can crush them. What got you here may not be what you need to get you there. You don't have to abandon your drive, your standards, your hunger, but you can replace the harshness with heart. Because when you start cheering for yourself instead of scolding yourself, you don't lose ambition, you amplify energy. What you focus on expands. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Like I said, you don't lose ambition. You amplify energy. You start working with yourself, not against yourself. Because there comes a point where you need to push. And then there's a time when you got to join with yourself and work together on yourself for your dreams towards your goals. Remember, the loudest voice you'll hear all day is your own voice inside your head. Make sure it's the one that lifts you, not limits you. And if it's just the inner critic picking on you, tell it, no, that's not true. This is an incredibly powerful quote, and I'm going to say it twice. You can't hate yourself into a version of you that you love. Did you hear that? You can't hate yourself into a version of you that you love. Only love can do that. Sometimes being hard on yourself comes from a low self-worth. And I know this personally. For much of my youth, even into my 30s, I was incredibly hard on myself. My internal dialogue was brutal. You suck, you're a loser, you're a loser, you're a loser. Everything I did, every mistake I did, every time I tripped over a word, I got embarrassed, and it was proof of how much of a failure I was. Every single shortcoming was a confirmation that I wasn't good enough. I didn't find out I was dyslexic into my 20s, so I had so much trouble with spelling and reading that I really thought I was stupid. And I literally had all this evidence that I was completely broken. Yeah, there was times that I tried to motivate myself through shame. I'd think, if I tear myself down enough, maybe I'll slingshot back up. And this was my version of the slingshot theory. I pushed myself so low. It's like I had this saying that when you're lying on your back in the ditch, in the darkness, the only thing you can see is the stars. So I pushed myself so far down that I could explode upwards. And it worked for a time. It got me out of a slump. But in the long run, I'd end up right back into the strategy. And it was cyclic. It was like Groundhog Day. And it wasn't like, this wasn't a way to move forward. It wasn't an inspiration. It was a self-destruction wearing a disguise. And the truth is, you can't build a beautiful life on a foundation of self-loathing. I had to learn slowly, painfully, that encouragement fuels me longer than criticism ever could. When I started speaking to myself With kindness, something shifted. I still pushed myself, but the energy changed from fear to faith. From prove yourself to believe in yourself. From what's wrong with me to what's possible for me. And everything changed. You know what? I realized that all the pieces of me were necessary. Some of them would stay forever, and some of them would teach me, and I'd move on. When I stopped the cyclic action of pushing myself down so I could jet up, I realized at one point that this was a really unevolved way of moving forward. Like, I even changed my language around that, right? Because there was a time I'd probably say there was a stupid or ignorant or an idiotic way of trying to move forward in life. And I just changed my language to this is an unevolved way of moving forward. Is it effective? Yes, it helps. It gets me moving again. But in the long run, it's like if I want to evolve, I've got to evolve my strategies for moving forward. So I chose to stop pushing myself down and just move forward. And the truth is, my whole goal and desire was to help people, to make a difference in the world. And it wasn't until I realized that you can't pour love into others from an empty cup. And you can't thrive if your inner voice is your bigger bully, your biggest bully, that everything shifted. Then there's this shift, kindness as fuel. Everything you've been taught, everything you're going through, everything you will ever get through can either be used to drag you down or it can be used to move you forward. Like that choice is yours. The way you frame things changes your life. If you frame it as you suck, you're terrible, and you'll never make it, that's what you'll probably get. And if you frame it that this was a lesson that taught me compassion, empathy, how to overcome, like for me, every single thing I've been through, there was a time when I took it on and decided that what I want to do for the rest of my life is learning these things to the nth degree, learn them so well that I can communicate them in a way to other human beings that maybe they can find some truth in there and they can shift their lives. Life gets lighter when you stop beating yourself up and start building yourself up. It is easier when you show yourself kindness, when you cut yourself a little slack, when you start treating yourself the way you would treat a close friend. Here's the truth. You would never speak to somebody the way you speak to yourself sometimes. Or even maybe it's not, like I said, it's not you, it's the inner critic, but you would never allow someone else to speak to your close friend that way. You would stand up and you would defend them. And literally, you can defend yourself against your own negative internal dialogue. You can say, no, that's not true. This is who I am. I know I am this. I will overcome. Don't accept the negative voice in your head as truth. It's not. And don't accept it as you. You'd never accept somebody saying something like that about your close friend. So why would you do it to yourself? Just try encouragement over pressure. Try compassion over criticism. Try cheering over jeering. Tell yourself, I got this. I'm doing my best, and that's enough. You don't need perfection. You need patience. You don't need to be harder. You need to be kinder. You don't need to do more. You just need to remember you're enough. Because you are enough. You are so enough. There's never been anyone who's been more enough. Everything you're going through is a lesson. Everything can be fuel to move you forward. Every day can be a practice to treat yourself with compassion. Everything is taking you towards the best version of yourself if you can just learn from it and not internalize it and not listen to that negative voice. So I want to leave you with a gentle challenge and affirmation. So as we close today, I want to invite you to make this your practice. Try this every morning before you pick up your phone to check on the world. Say this simple truth out loud. Today, I will do the best I can with what I have, and that is enough. And when that voice of self-criticism comes knocking, just like this, meet it with compassion, not compliance. Compassion to self. Don't accept what it says. Don't internalize it. Don't take it on. Go, nah, that's not me. I'm doing the best I can. And when I know better, I'll do better. Remind it, like that internal dialogue. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need punishment to grow. And I don't need to be pushed down, to be small, to be safe. You know, if you take one breath, one step, one act of kindness to yourself. I remember I heard this quote a long time ago, and it said, if you take one step towards God, they will run to you. And I thought, how about we change that to, if you take one step towards the ultimate person that you are, your purpose, towards who you are meant to be on this planet, it will run to you. I'm going to run to you. Because when you treat yourself with love, you raise the standard for how the world treats you. When you truly love yourself, you will have no taste for people treating you with anything else but kindness. You will move people out of your life that are not aligned with who you are. So lighten up on yourself. Encourage instead of pressure. Cheer instead of cheer. You are always doing your very best. And your best is so much more than enough. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, I see this every day. I see these incredible human beings. Yesterday, I was working with somebody, and it breaks my heart to see how hard they are on themselves when they're so freaking amazing. And they don't even see it. And I see this every day in so many beautiful human beings. And I just wish these amazing people I get to work with would just have the ability to see themselves just for a moment through my eyes. Because then they could see how truly special they are. Don't listen to that internal negative voice. It lies. Just don't be so hard on yourself. Thank you for listening. Please just keep building your own internal advocate. It's the path. It's the path to a life. The life you will love, the life you've always wanted.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Inner Advocate, a podcast by Kimen Petersen, formerly Conversations with Kimen. If you found value in today's episode, please follow, like, and share the podcast with someone who you think may benefit from it. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and connect on Instagram at your_inner_advocate. Until next time, keep listening to and developing your inner advocate.